Welcome into the Fray. My name is Austin Neil Gregory, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we have the amazing, talented, wonderfully kind, and extremely humble Seth Tucker. If you don't know Seth, you should. Seth is by far one of the most talented musicians I've ever heard. His dedication to the craft is one we should all look at and not just admire, but aspire to have with our own respected crafts. Seth plays in our band here at the Bridge Church and has truly grown as a leader, and more importantly, as a follower of Jesus before our very eyes. In today's episode, he is going to discuss how he has been developing his relationship with Jesus, and specifically how his crew at the Wesley Foundation on the VSU campus has helped him in that regard. Seth is someone who genuinely wants to see unity and building up of others. This is a trait specific to Seth that I've really grown to admire. He's young, but his heart for not just worship, but for the church is one that I think is key to point out. Seth sees no one as lower than himself. He's extremely humble, like I said before. You talk to him for any amount of time, you'll quickly come to realize he loves people, he gives others their flowers, he pays his respects, and he admires the differences we have among us. This podcast is brought to you by the Bridge Church. If you want more resources, check the links in the description and find Into the Fray as well as the Bridge Church on Facebook and Instagram. Without further ado, come into the Fray with Seth Tucker. Enjoy. All right, this is Into the Fray. I'm Austin.
I'm Berlin.
I'm Seth.
Your dad, Danny. You're the only kid, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Growing up, were y'all in church?
Yeah. Kind of your traditional small town Baptist church, you know.
Were y'all like as involved as y'all are at the Bridge, or was it more like a looser relationship with the church? Or?
I wasn't. I don't feel like we were as tight knit with the people. Dad was a deacon there for a time, but he hasn't like stepped into any kind of role like that here. But so I guess it's kind of balanced itself out a little bit. But I think we feel more connected here. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. But,
Yeah. What didn't you feel connected to about that church?
I guess it was kind of personality clashes in a way. Some of the people I was around, I just didn't really get. There wasn't, like, the thing I like about the Bridge, there's a bunch of different walks of life that are kind of coming in here.
Yeah.
And that can span across a bunch of categories. But it was kind of, in my opinion, it was a little bit narrow there. Okay, you know, your Southern farmer family showing up, going to church, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I guess that never really helped me click.
Did it feel like there's just like one way to be a Christian, one way to do things? Is that like the narrow?
Yeah, which, I mean, obviously that was when I was younger, so I don't know if I felt the pressure that much then as far as that goes. Because before I was a teenager, we had left. We actually just started watching Austin Deloach's services at Southside on TV at home. So, yeah.
You know I'm named after him, right?
You're kidding.
No. I grew up at Southside.
Okay.
And he led my dad, who's, you know, crazy drug addict, to Jesus. And so
really?
that was my parents' response was, okay, we'll name our son after you.
Austin's powerful.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, sometimes I don't talk to Austin a lot. I do wonder how weird that is that like like I'm walking around and I'm like named after him, if there's like a have mercy on this kid or
There's
what.
some disappointment.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
We can talk to him when he comes by here.
Yeah.
Later in April.
Oh, well, that's our
We
due
won't be
date.
here.
Oh. Dang.
Yeah. But yeah, we grew up with Austin and his family. They're constantly, they didn't really come over to our house as much. We went over to their house all the time. And my mom was his secretary when he was starting out as a pastor at Southside. It's weird because I only knew him when the church at Southside got bigger. We moved to the big building. Everybody wanted him to preach at his church. But my mom knew him when he wouldn't go to the hospital to visit people because he didn't know how to deal with people. And so she had to like come and be his like buffer. And she knew him before he met his wife. And so when he was like the new young pastor that's dating still.
Yeah.
Which is just like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get you.
So the time, how long was there that y'all weren't in church? And y'all were just, I guess, watching online?
Maybe 8 or so years, something. Whenever Robbie and them kind of split off and branched is when we.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of all at the same time. So
Yeah. It's crazy to hear how many people kind of left around that same time, and how many it took some of them a while to end up at the bridge, but it's like every couple of years we find someone new and they're like, yeah, we left at the same time, we just it took us a while.
Nashville's a long way away, but I think it maybe have been a little later after Robbie and them left, or it may have been at the exact same time. So it's either how long this church has been here or whatever number I just threw out.
I guess, what was your idea of church at that time in those like 8 years or so where you're just watching, where you're like, we don't really need this? Or did you have a relationship with faith really, or was it more like...
Yeah, I had a relationship. Obviously when you're younger it's a little hard. I know it differs for different people, but when we were going to that church beforehand, it never really clicked with me. I was just a kid who wanted to run around as soon as the pastor let me.
Yeah.
And then with watching it on TV, the sermons were really good, but it's really hard to connect through a screen.
Yeah.
Which I think is what kind of eventually led us here, because the kind of burnout of just sitting on the couch and watching this service with nothing else to it. It's just the speaking, and then you turn it off and you go about your day. So moving here has been very different. You can feel it when you're in person.
Yeah. You're related to John, right?
Yeah. Well, not John, Robin. So I'm related to him by marriage.
Okay. I didn't realize you were the person they were talking about for the longest. And I was so skeptical of the idea of you. Because the band was in like a tough position at the time. Like, we didn't really have any guitar players. Yeah. And I think at the time Ryan was kind of struggling, trying to get people a part of the band again after the headache that we had before. Yeah. And John came up to me, and I think Ryan and maybe Chase was like, yo, I got this nephew. He's really good on the guitar. And like, he was like, I don't know, hyping you up. And immediately I was like, yeah, but like everybody thinks their nephew's like good. Also, like he ain't here, so why? Yeah. Like, I just immediately, I don't know. I grew up in the church, so I was always annoyed when they would just get some random guy off the street to come play in the band, because I'm like, yeah, do we know this guy at all? Yeah. Yeah. So immediately like skepticism rose up, and it didn't click until like a couple weeks ago that you were. I don't remember who made the connection or whatever, but they were like, yeah, like we're related to the Tuckers, and I was just like, oh, yeah. Wait, no, this is the kid. Okay, then yeah, I was wrong. I'm that crazy guy they were talking about for all those years. Man.
That makes a lot more sense now, because when we went and watched you, I don't remember the name of...
At the pizza restaurant?
No, at the school, when we went and watched you, and John and Robin were there. Yeah. Little Shops of Horror.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was like, okay, so they're just like coming to support them. But now it makes sense. Like, no.
I did think that was weird too. I was like, I mean, I'm glad our church is so supportive.
Yeah, like they were hyping it up. And I was like, now it all makes sense.
Yeah, because I guess it was weird too, because Rachel came too, and I was like, why is Rachel here?
Yeah, like, I was confused.
Some random kid at our church.
But, yeah, we're related. Where are they claiming here now?
So was it, when y'all came to the bridge, was it just we need connection with actual people, we're tired of like watching on the screen basically, or I don't know, what was there any expectations about coming?
Well, kind of a good segue. When you're related to John and Robin Dixon, the lovely people that they are, they don't, there's not a Sunday that goes by where you don't hear from them telling you to come up here. Yeah. So one Sunday we just did, and then we just came back the next Sunday, and we've been here ever since.
But you didn't want to play at the time, right?
No. Because Ryan snooped me out the first day we showed up. Yeah. Yeah, it was not on my mind.
Were you playing a lot at the time anyways, or?
In the comfort of my room.
Okay.
Yeah, even a church stage was very intimidating. And even then and still now, the church stage was more intimidating than like somewhere else. Because I had sat in a time or two with a group here and there at places, but I don't know, something about that, I think, from sitting in the sanctuary and then looking up past the altar onto the stage is very, yeah, it's tough to get yourself up there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't get, every now and then I'll have like a little panic attack or whatever. It's not when I've preached on a Sunday. It is when I've done announcements though, for whatever weird reason. Like that, and I'm only up there for like a minute. If I
Probably because you're not up there getting in your groove.
Yeah.
Right up there from the start of it. And
yeah, there was one Sunday I had like a panic. I immediately got off stage and went to my truck and was like trying to calm myself down because I was like, you people are bugging me out. I mean, are you a shy person? You don't come off as like super extroverted, but you also don't come off as like
I don't
scared
consider
to talk to
myself an extrovert, but people have always like told me, like, if I'm in a part of like a group or something that's hosting something, I'm always the dude that gets put at the door greeting people for some reason. And it's just, if I like a person and I enjoy talking to them, it's normally pretty easy going, I guess. But I wouldn't consider myself extroverted by any means.
Yeah.
Because I know some extroverted people and I'm not that.
Yeah. I think Wesley called himself a highly functional introvert.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Yeah.
I was like, that dude, genius.
Sounds good. So
yeah.
I'll go with it.
Because I always assumed kind of the same thing. Like he stayed to himself. He didn't avoid people, but he wasn't like going out of his way to
I'm
be live at a party.
Not a partier, not a function goer.
Yeah.
I'm a homebody that, if I find myself in the situation where I'm talking to people, I'm fine with it, but I'm not.
You're not running to it.
Yeah, I'm not out every weekend shaking hands with 200 people.
So, you started playing music when you were in high school or something like that?
I started in the spring of 7th grade. Had a uncle that had been a pretty struggling alcoholic his entire life. Probably one of the most pure-hearted people you'd ever meet. Just liked a good drink.
Yeah.
And just had, spanning from when he was younger to his older 50s, he had one too many DUIs. And anyway, obviously ended up getting pulled over for what would be the final time. And I'm not sure the details of it. I wasn't exactly there. I don't think he was non-functional, but obviously he had alcohol in him, and so by that time he had too many strikes, so took him to jail, had to get a court date, and in the courtroom it was made out to be like he was a monster, which he was not, which in my opinion persuaded the jury into sentencing him for 7 years in prison. Gets to prison and gets cancer, and the Florida prison system refused to treat him for it, which is something that I haven't really gotten over.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I ever will, but a year or two before that all happened, he had given me this Japanese guitar from the 60s, bought it off some guy at a garage sale, didn't know what to get me for my birthday, and just handed it to me and said, "Here you go." That's the kind of guy he was. And took it with a smile, threw it under the bed, never thought about it again.
He's a prophet. That's what that is.
Yeah, sure. We can go with that. And at his funeral they played Freebird, which now in modern culture is not the song that I knew it was then.
Yeah.
Because I'd never been connected with any sort of older genre of music. I was just kind of listening to whatever was being fed to me on the radio. And so after the funeral, on the way home, I was like, I'm going to go home and learn Freebird some way or another. So I did. I pulled the guitar out and began to kind of find my way around it. And then it's led me to, started taking guitar lessons at the store in Adel, which I now work with some of my closest musician friends.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it started.
How long did it take you to learn that song?
Month or two, maybe.
Is that pretty quick, or is that like about how long it should take?
I always find it hard to, and this stands now, because I'm teaching now. People always like ask stuff like that, like how long did it take you to do it? It's always been since I picked it up. When I'm at the house, I play it. In the shower, I'm thinking about it. When I go to bed, I'm thinking about it. So it wasn't like people make it out to be now where you're like practicing for an hour a day. For me, it was
constantly on your mind.
Yeah, it was a month or two of that. So I don't know if that's quick or fast or slow, but
was it kind of like an addiction almost, of like you couldn't stop yourself from thinking about it, or
that? And for growing up around here, the narrative has always been, as a guy, you grow up, you fish, you hunt, and that's how it goes. Or you ride 4-wheelers or stuff, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that never did anything for me.
I love that.
So when I found the guitar, I finally got it.
Yeah.
It was kind of something that clicked for once, which I had been playing the sax in middle school before that, but that was not the same.
Was playing the sax more like going through the motions? You're like,
yeah,
it's just part of what I do at school.
Yeah, because that's ultimately the way you're trained when you do it in school, even if it's just, extracurricular thing for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, the goal is to train you to be able to sight read this music, play it as well and as fast and efficiently as you can, so you can either go to classical competitions and win, or join marching band and be drilled and win. And it's just, that's the mindset. And with guitar, that wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's crazy to hear that, because Hayden, my stepsister, from my understanding, the whole reason she's like so into sax is you. And like, because I had heard your name before in the house.
Yeah.
But I didn't know you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so like, what does this random high schooler have to do with you being obsessed with saxophone? Like, yeah. Okay.
And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I'm very competitive in some senses, and especially like the marching band aspect. It was. Yeah. That was it for me.
Did you play sports or anything before this?
No. And see, that's another thing. I tried cross country and baseball and just, I didn't get it. And I watch it and I enjoy it, but as far as playing it, it didn't do anything to me.
Did that ever make you, you talked about how, I guess, traditionally men in the South were supposed to do these things?
Yeah.
For me, I'm like you. I'm sorry. Fishing's too boring. I don't really care. I don't know. I'm not a vegan, but for some reason, I don't want to shoot an animal. I don't mess with guns. I don't really care for sport. I like basketball, but I mean, that love has died basically. Yeah. No, it was never like the people around me. And for me, that made me like question like my masculinity. I was like, I don't feel. I just, as a kid, I wanted to draw pictures. Yeah. And I'm like, I just want to go do my own thing, whatever weird thing that is. And it just made me, it caused a lot of insecurity.
Yeah, and even if the people aren't frowning at you, you feel like they are.
Yeah.
Dad's always told me the first time he carried me hunting, I don't know how to gauge deer big or small, but he said it was a decent-sized 8-point that walked out. He said, there it is. And I said, okay. So he shot it, and my first response was, when can we go home? Not because I was like miserable or anything. I just didn't care. It didn't click.
Yeah. I remember it was a few years ago. There's 2 instances where this was like, okay, Austin, you're really out of it. One, my dad had just bought like a new pistol or something like that. The whole family's outside shooting it. They're like, Austin, you shoot it. You're gonna love it. It's gonna like as soon as you pull that trigger, something's gonna like come up inside of you, and it's gonna like release a spirit. I don't know. And I shot it, and I was like, I felt nothing, and I hate that you guys just like pressured me, and I don't feel anything inside.
Yeah, I've had guns bought for me since I was born, and I've never touched them. Just
even my sister, she lived in Tennessee for a while. She had just had, I think, her second kid. It was Xander. It's a lot of kids to keep track of this. Second kid, and they, like, all the guys were going out to the shooting range, and all the girls are going to stay home and watch the kids. And they're like, Austin, why aren't you getting ready? And I was like, I'm good. I'm going to stay here and play with the kids. And they're like, are you serious? You're joking, right? And I was like, no, I don't. The kids seem more fun. And some of the women were even like, we'll take a spot. And I was like, yo, I'm so out of touch with the rest of these guys. But I don't know. It was a thing that I just learned. Like, I guess in middle school and high school had already started noticing that. And then the friends I was picking, they're all kind of like me. We were into weird things. Like half of them were into anime. The others were into like wanting to make movies and stuff like that. Yeah. And so we just did our own little thing in high school and just learned to be confident in ourselves. And we're like,
it's hard, and not even from a judgmental standpoint. It's just hard to connect with people. because you just don't share any similar interests or personality. Or
Was that tough on you and your dad?
it was for a little bit. I think I struggled with it a little more than he did, because it was not. It wasn't that there's always been a connection there. I've never had issues with my parents not having a connection, but it was almost like I wanted to make sure he was happy with how his son was turning out.
Yeah.
Which was tough to battle with. But none of my family's ever played music before, but he's always had this crazy love for music.
Yeah.
And so with the guitar playing, that's kind of given us something.
Yeah.
Which we didn't have before.
So when you were growing up, was he like constantly playing music in the house? Is there any music that was like influencing you at a really young age, or?
No. He really never opened up to me about it until I started finding it on my own.
It like opened up a door for him.
He never wanted to force me to do anything or to listen to anything that he did if I didn't want to. So I'd hear it every now and then, but that was kind of, that whole world opened up for me very quickly.
Your dad, he like shared his testimony on Men's Breakfast months ago now, I guess. That's been going on longer than I thought. And he talked about his like struggle with addiction and all. Because I had a dad who was addicted too. Me and my siblings have all responded differently to our dad's story. Like one of them is like, yo, screw it, I'll do what I want. And my dad was too cautious.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because he's an addict. My response was, like I started going through like the family history. We have a lot of addicts in our family. And I'm like, probably a safe bet for me to just never touch this stuff.
Yeah.
What has been your response to your dad's, I guess, past struggles?
Yeah. And see, I actually didn't know about it until maybe when I was entering high school. I had no idea. He thought he had told me, and I heard him telling his testimony to somebody else, and I had no idea. So it was kind of very eye-opening. I've always kind of, which I think everybody does for a period of time, I've kind of viewed like my parents on this pedestal, of what I'm trying to get to, which they are in a way.
Yeah.
It really, it not only enlightened me on how powerful that stuff is and how powerful it can grip you, but it also, kind of opened my eyes of how good of a Savior we serve, too. Because to be able to pull you out of a place like that and shift your life to where you are now is pretty amazing. So it's always, I've never had any interest in it beforehand, but that's kind of always been in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
This is what it can get to. So I've always strayed away from it.
Was that tough in high school? Or did you kind of, like, people didn't really pressure you to? People kind of knew that I didn't care. And it's one of those things, I'll tell you my opinion on it. And I'll tell you what I think you should do. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you're doing it and I'm around you, I'm not gonna, hound you or, have a church service at 1 o'clock in the morning in a field, Yeah. It is what it is. People make their own choices. But people kind of learned that I don't agree with it, but I'm not gonna judge you for it. Yeah. And, I'm still gonna treat you as a person. That's what I don't like a lot of people. As soon as they find out that stuff, it's just like you're an alien. It's just because they have a problem, which I don't agree with. Did your dad's story like humanize other people's struggles for you? Yeah, I think so. And that was kind of my, obviously like with the alcohol stuff, like my uncle and stuff, that had been around my entire life. But the concept of like hard drugs in my family was not something that I ever processed. And it kind of made me realize how close that stuff is around here. Yeah. Because once you hear that, you kind of start looking out for it. Yeah. And then you start to notice. Yeah, it's everywhere. Yeah, where it's all at. Yeah. So at what point would you say that you started developing like a faith for yourself? Where you're like, I'm like, it's no longer like my parents' faith or the church I grew up in. Like, I personally want to have this connection with Jesus. So I got saved. I put that in quotes in the bathtub when I was like 5. Yeah. And I've always been a Christ follower.
and a believer in a sense, but later on towards somewhere in middle school, I kind of got, I don't want to say resaved or like the thing that happened before didn't matter, but I didn't have a concept of it then, and I had a concept of it at that period later on. And so that's when it started developing and clicking kind of after that, where I kind of reworked everything and thought everything out. Throughout high school, it started to grow, things like FCA. And in high school, you also have to, which sounds dramatic, but if you don't have a solid footing and a solid foundation, it'll eat you up.
And even if you do, my God.
Yeah, no, it's still tough, which people have their own opinions on that, but that's mine. And obviously really stepping forth here, it was kind of the first time I'd been to a church in person where I was kind of, thinking on all cylinders and kind of getting it and understanding it. And now even I think I'm still always developing a faith of my own.
I'm with you. Yeah.
And stepping into college with the Wesley Foundation and being in here and bouncing back and forth, it's just, I'm learning a lot.
Yeah.
I'm growing a lot. And even every day I'm still learning what it is to be a Christian. Just as of yesterday, there's stuff you don't think about till you get out and meet people and people share wisdom with you, and it's always growing.
Yeah, I think the thing that helped me was realize I kind of similar to you. I got saved, baptized when I don't know how old, but I was a few years old though. I remember talking to my parents about it. They were cautious, and so they're like, we're going to ask you some questions and see where you're at, if this is legit. And I passed the test, and then they're like, we're going to take you to the pastor. He's going to kind of check you out and see what's going on, and pass that test. And then I get baptized. And
see, I've never done that.
I mean, part of it was because my best friend did it. And I grew up in church, so I knew all the answers. And it was a hard test. But I got baptized, and I just assumed I was saved for the longest. But then I, especially in middle school, that's when it kind of hit me. I just started to realize I was very different. And I wasn't buying into the whole Jesus thing anymore. I was like, yo, I don't like your answers, Mom and Dad and church. Like, I don't like, y'all say a bunch of cliches and they're corny. And there's a lot of inconsistency I feel like you notice when you're growing up in church, especially when you're involved. Like, you have a family who's very involved. As a kid, you are exposed to all like the dark secrets, and you just realize, oh yeah, these people may show themselves to be one thing on Sunday morning on the stage, but I see them throughout the week and the meetings, and the intentions don't always line up. And so as a kid, I was like, I don't really know if I'm okay with all this. But then Jesus, he shows me, like, introducing me to a youth pastor. That youth pastor completely transformed my idea of what a Christian can be. He just introduced me to like the love of Jesus, and it changed my life. But that wasn't until I was in 8th grade. And that moment was, I have no idea what was going through my mind when I was like 7 or whatever. But I know that what I experienced at, I guess, 13 was so radically different that I was like, yo, something happened here. I can't get over it now.
Yeah, being a Christ follower and being in church is a tough journey.
Yeah.
For sure, like you were saying about like inconsistencies and stuff. Now even I'm seeing that more than ever. Yeah. Because I will play somewhere on Friday or Saturday night, definitely not a worship service. And then I'll come to church on Sunday morning, and the same people that I saw carrying the pub's, I don't know how many dollar Bud Light bucket.
Yeah.
The same people walking in with a Bible and a coffee. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think my mind was really opened up to how inconsistent some things are, and until kind of like the past couple of years. I'm kind of in that rare position where I'm getting to see all the environments. Yeah. I'm seeing some people's entire weekend. Yeah. Leading up here.
Yeah.
So
my first experience meeting your dad was they asked me to share my story about coming back to the bridge, and like why I left before, why I'm now back, the challenge of that and all that stuff. I got up there and was like, yeah, the bridge kind of sucked. Like, you guys did not care about people. People would walk in and you just ignore them, and then get on stage and say, glad to meet you. There's issues, and I was just talking about that, and how God challenged me to then be like, well, why don't you start causing some change to happen, and why don't you start welcoming people, Austin? Like, And so then I was sharing that story, and your dad came up to me afterwards, and he was like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was like just very encouraging. He's like, I had that same struggle of like, and he's like, I loved your raw, like your honesty and how raw you were and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, nice. Like it just ended up being very encouraging. And then like in my mind, I was like, okay, this guy gets it. Like these places, some people like they do have this I don't want picture perfect idea of the church, and they don't want to, I guess, be honest about some of the rougher edges.
Yeah.
And your dad was just one of the people that was very real and honest as soon as I met him about it. And he's like, nah, let's take it down.
There's certainly no such thing as a perfect church.
Yeah.
And anyone that's presenting itself to be is just take a look inside.
Are you I'm gonna say deep thinker, which is probably not like the best way to ask this question, but like you come off as someone who maybe introspective is the word. You seem like someone who observes a lot. Your favorite place isn't in a crowd full of people. It's in the comfort of your room where you're like alone with your thoughts, I'm assuming.
Or outside the crowd looking on.
Okay. How do you wrap your mind around that? Like, does that make it tough for you sometimes to connect with people, or
that and that's kind of always.
Do you feel like you're psychoanalyzing everybody that you?
Yeah, I swear it's a hereditary thing, because even like my grandpa, he'd just go sit on a bench in Walmart just for like 2 hours while the family shopped, and then just people watch.
Yeah.
Which, sometimes you gotta learn not to say that stuff out loud either, which he wasn't particularly best at too. But yeah, it's tough meeting people, and sometimes it's tough, just dealing with yourself. Like when I took chemistry and we started you break down the atoms, and then the atoms break down into, you got the nucleus, you got electrons, you got protons and neutrons, then you got the quarks that are making up those little things. And that was probably the hardest time dealing with my faith and balancing that, because what God is going to create this.
Yeah.
So kind of that. And I hate using the word deep thinker because it sounds like a humble brag, but that's just how I am.
Yeah.
And so it's a struggle to do a lot of things. It's a struggle to deal with, church way of thinking and faith, to meeting people, to just kind of taking things how they are throughout the day.
Do you think a lot of musicians struggle with that who are in the church? Of they're the ones who, I guess, musicians typically are the ones who are the observers and the deep thinkers. I mean, some call them prophets of they're looking in on what's going on. They're translating it for us, and they're helping us figure out how to express what's really going on and paint that picture.
This is where I get into arguments with church musicians and other people about, because I do think that exists to a point, and I also think that exists to a point where it's too much. I feel like, especially in modern day church, especially the worship part of it is so thought out mathematically and psychologically that we're almost going too deep into it. I feel like a lot of times I hear this word thrown around, I don't agree with it. You're teaching the congregation, and you're invoking a response out of the congregation. Like the congregation is just this outside body that you just go up on stage and you manipulate, like a puppet master with God's love behind you.
Yeah. And
I've never liked that. I don't like viewing myself as different than the congregation. I feel like a lot of people believe if you stand on the stage, then you're maybe not even on a higher level, but that you're different.
Yeah. They're it's the idea of we're called, you guys aren't.
I'm just a guy that instead of sitting in a chair, I'm playing a guitar. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
I don't even like considering myself a worship leader.
Do you view yourself as you're just joining in worship?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's all I'm doing up there anyway. But yeah, it's sometimes I think, especially on the music side, and I know it happens on all sides of church, but especially on the music side, how much are we worried about a production, and how much are we worried about invoking a response out of somebody? And are you getting, if the audience isn't congregation, if they aren't singing as loud, or if the amount of hands that you've counted being up is lower than last week, are you still worshiping the same? are you still, what's your view of a successful Sunday? And I don't even like that term.
I'm with you.
Successful Sunday, like church is non-statistic. Yeah, it's a tough balance. It's a tough balance. And some places got it more figured out than others, and we're all still just trying to figure it out.
Is that your hardest struggle with the church? Is just like how maybe lost we get in the production and the success statistics, all that stuff?
Yeah, that, and because sometimes it's tough. It can be frustrating and et cetera, et cetera. Like last night, we played a Good Friday service in Valdosta, and I was having technical problems with my pedal board, and I couldn't even enjoy the first half of the service because of power issues. And so the second half, I just quit playing and just sang. And it's just, sometimes you just gotta know when to just let it go. And so I think that's one of the biggest problems with music in church right now. Is just it's really getting to a point where it's not authentic. And I'm not one of those Bethel music bashers, or I'm not part of that group.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with size and how much money you have to be able to do stuff. It's where your heart's at and where your mind's at from when your mind before you step onto the stage and the mind after. It should, I think, be the same, which can delve into a bunch of different things, like leaving from just the production side of things. What are you doing it for? Are you a performer? Are you serving? Or is your ego getting in the way? Are you trying to show off?
How do you balance excellence though with just being a servant?
That's a great question, and I'll let you know when I have the answer. Because
That's the struggle I have being like a teacher and preacher. Robbie says all the time, bad preaching's a sin. Me and Berlin go over every lesson I teach with the youth. Anytime I preach, like I don't like winging it, and I think a lot of people in church who are preachers typically wing it. They just get up there and like, yeah, God told me what to say last night, and I'm like, yeah, buddy, I've been with God for weeks. Like he didn't just finally knock on the door. Yeah. And
so maybe one time, but not every week.
Yeah, I think there's a way, like there's a science to how to teaching people, just like with music or anything like that. There's a way to best communicate these truths that we believe, and there's just a way you can present them that actually connects all the dots for you. Yeah, and makes it actually make sense. And
it's balancing doing that to a limit.
Yeah.
While also keeping it authentic. And so there you go. That's how you balance it.
It's for sure tough, because sometimes in like my instance, you can preach the best sermon in the world, but if you haven't truly experienced it yourself, I guess that's where it kind of falls apart. Of like, yeah, you can perfectly explain the theology behind Jesus dying on the cross for your sins and then raising, all the intricacies in that. But if you haven't truly felt and experienced it yourself, the authenticity is gone. And yeah, I'm like thinking as I'm saying that.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
I think both worlds kind of interconnect in that way.
So I've been reading, this is one of the questions I did have prepared for you. I'm reading this book right now called The Lost History of Christianity. And so it has like the world split up into like Western, Eastern. We're like in the Western European church. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us think this is how this has always been done. Yeah. And that's not true at all. The African church, the Asian church, like they've been going on for centuries and like way before it ever reached Europe. And I'm just learning a lot about that stuff. And they do something that's really interesting of when you go into a worship service in like an Eastern church, they try to engage all five senses. And so they have like incense, they have the visual, like every part of the building, in the room, the worship, the preach, like everything's supposed to cause your entire body to fall into worship. Like that's the goal. And it made me, I guess, curious as to, with them trying to engage all five senses in the worship service, they're communicating God wants all of you. He doesn't just want your ears. He wants your vision. He wants your smell. He wants your hands and your feet. What do you think how we structure our worship services today communicate to the audience? Do you think it actually causes us to, like the congregation to, I don't know, worship? Or do you think it causes us more to like celebrity dynamic?
I think it depends on, and this is kind of metaphorical too, the size of the stage. you're dealing with. Kind of like, maybe not here, not going to, step up and get Eric's autograph unless you just really want it. And, if that's what you want to do, I guess go for it. But
he played drums at Southside as a kid, and I did want his autograph.
But somebody like him compared to going into the autograph of like Hillsong's guitar player, because and so I think that depends. Like you're talking about like the celebrity view of it, that kind of depends. I think most importantly, it's starting before we do anything. It's starting in the hearts of the people that are sitting or standing, or whatever the context is. I think that matters more personally, and people can hop on me for this all they want. I don't want to invoke anything in really anybody, or like feel like I'm drawing it out of somebody. That's not the goal. And I was talking with some guys the other day. What I think music does is all it's doing is just providing you kind of this comfort zone. The room's not quiet.
Yeah.
It's melodic, which your human mind kind of gets.
Yeah.
It's not like this demonic thing that's bringing it out of people, like a bunch of people have told me before.
Yeah.
But it just allows your body to relax. But as far as bringing any sort of feelings or worship out, that is not being done by me. It starts inside of you. And I can, and the reason I can say that is I do have the opportunity to play sometimes 3 different services a week.
Yeah.
I'm the same guitar player. There's nothing about me that's changing in between that, except the room and the people I'm in. And the context of that can change between, maybe it's a Sunday morning and half the room has been drugged there because the rest of the family is going to be at church on Sunday. And so you need to be at church on Sunday and, go out to eat after. It's just the routine. Sunday morning, baby. Just got to roll. And compared to, a service I may play in the middle of the week where everybody there has taken time out of studying for a final to give it all back where it comes from. And the energy is totally different, and you feel people worship different.
Yeah.
And I think people worship. I'm not one of those people that say you've got to get up and jump and wave your hands and scream. And everybody does it their own way.
Yeah.
But even when you do it in your own way, you can tell when somebody's heart's in it. And it's very different being in a room with people where their hearts are in it, and then in a room where maybe not all of it is. So I don't like to think that I'm bringing anything, or the group I'm with is trying to bring anything out of a room. That I don't like because that's manifesting something that's not real. Yeah, it's a kind of a hard subject to explain.
Yeah.
Because obviously music makes someone emotional, but being realistic to the degree that that's going to be is something that not a lot of people have fully wrapped their head around. So I think it starts with who's in the room, us included.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's no difference between us on that stage and the people out here.
Yeah.
Even if our hearts aren't in it, which you can tell that instantly too. If that all makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. How'd you find the Wesley crew? I was trying to say group and crew at the same time, and it bugged me.
I was invited they do some services during the summer, and I was invited once or twice, and it just never worked out for me to go. And also, I'd never been a part of a youth group. And that starts from youth was never really a big thing at the church we were at before. Then when you're watching it at TV, obviously that's nothing there. And when I came here, I mean, it
wasn't really.
You're already almost done with high school, and then it's just too late. And so I was very nervous kind of stepping into that world because it's different and I wouldn't call it a youth group. It's just which I didn't really understand before I got there. But so that was very nerve-wracking. But the first Wednesday service they had, I just decided, because I did marching band, so I was there late anyway. And so I decided to go. A couple people had told me about it, and I showed up and fell in love with it. And I haven't,
Is there anything specific about them that has stuck out?
It's maybe, first of all, the pastor that leads it is great, CJ, and the people there are different in a good way. And the thing about there is that, and it's kind of what I was getting to earlier, it's not a church. It's not really a situation where a family is coming there. It's all college students. that are, don't get me wrong, VSU is on the biggest strip of bars in Valdosta.
Yeah.
So on one side of VSU, there's the Wesley Foundation, and on the other street that runs by VSU is Bay Tree.
Yeah.
Which is where anything you want, it's there for you.
Yeah.
And these are college students that are making the choice to come to this side of VSU, and sometimes they're sacrificing up to 2.5 hours of their day, not because anybody's pressuring them to. They may have been invited by somebody, but at the end of the day, we've left high school. We're all adults now. You're entering the stage of your life where you're making your own decisions, and you're making a conscious decision to come to church. And some of these people are away from home, away from the churches they normally go to, and they're stepping out. And so it's different because almost everybody in that room is devoted to what they've came here for.
Yeah.
Especially week after week, because if your heart's not in it, you're not going to keep showing up.
Yeah, there's better things to do.
There's no social status you're gaining, from being there or anything. It's not a frat. It's not a sorority. It's very genuine, and it's something I've never experienced before.
Does it help that, because I was in youth group, there weren't any people really my age in the youth group with me, so I'd have to bring my friends, and my friends weren't Christian at all.
Yeah.
They're like, let's play basketball afterwards, we're cool. So that was always a struggle, is trying to find people my age who also loved Jesus and wanted to take their faith serious. And then when I graduated high school, I didn't go to college. And I left the bridge and went to a smaller church. And that church, everybody's like 20, 30 years older than me.
Yeah.
And anyone who is like their kid is like, they're having newborns. And so there's age gaps on both sides. And it became a struggle because I'm like, I want to find people my age who are serious about their faith and are serious about the things that we're going through at the time. Of like, what do I do when my friend comes out as gay? Like 50-year-olds next to me, they're not even talking. Like they're not making new friends. They're at a stage in their life where they're done with that. And the people in their life are kind of set in their ways. And the people in my life, we're like free flowing, like every day is different.
Yeah.
I had to figure out how to deal with that. Did that help, just finding community of people your age following Jesus?
Yeah.
Of like how to deal, like you're all dealing with the same stuff together.
And there's people from all states, countries, walks of life that are coming in there. And it doesn't, obviously it's Methodist rooted, and I'm sitting in a Southern Baptist church right now. So it obviously shows that the barriers aren't there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter any place or position of faith you're coming from. It's just the same. We're all on the same wavelength. Yeah.
Do you like that there's that difference there, the denominational?
Yeah.
In your life?
Yeah. That's something I've never been able to stand. Church denominations. It's never made sense to me. Still doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it just that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But and I think it's a lot easier that way too. And I kind of like that we don't brand ourselves as anything. We just kind of.
I mean, I feel like even calling it like Wesley, it kind of takes away any idea. Like I would assume a lot of people don't even know it's connected to anything Methodist.
Yeah, I had no idea until after I started. I mean, if you just don't look at the signs about the only part where it's pretty clear, I really had no idea.
I would think too, because my understanding of the Methodists is they are very like community driven, and they're very like they're out in the world actually trying to like make a difference in whether it's like social issues or whatever. And I would think that's probably a benefit that the Wesley crew has on campus, like just the Baptist context. It's very against you going out of the walls and doing anything in the community of like there's a whole bunch of politics there.
Yeah.
But the Methodists seem to have more they're just like, I don't care what you think of, like we're gonna go out and help the poor because what we're called to do. Whereas the Baptists are kind of like, I don't know, we just historically are like yeah, but like what if we're enabling them? There's again a whole bunch of issues. I would think though that for this generation that's in college who are very driven to social issues and to actually like causing change, the Wesley crew has a great opportunity to make a difference because they're like, oh, you want to care for the poor or climate change or whatever issue, that's what we do.
Yeah. And and we're still doing that. Like on Tuesdays, we feed the campus tacos. It's, all they gotta do is come over, and it's free. All you want is there, and just different. There's stuff going on all throughout the week. That like different teams are split up into handling, which is what I like.
Yeah.
That it's not just a lot of churches are just Sunday morning, preach this, preach that, and then see you next week.
Yeah.
And that's all there is to it. And so that was another thing that was kind of different. But yeah, it's very community driven, which may come from what you're talking about.
Are you? This is just an observation from like seeing your social media, because you'll post, like, you'll share on your story something of like President Biden, and then it can be like someone from the complete opposite end.
Yeah.
Are you kind of like, and you don't, we can cut this out.
Yeah.
Are you kind of into politics, or are you like pretty neutral and you're like, I just want us to work together?
I'm into politics, but I don't. Which is another thing. It's tough being around here, and honestly, just in the country, it's tough. I don't view any side as perfect. I don't care where you're from. As far as for like natively, you're supposed to agree with this because this is working for you. It's just, I'm a very good to the people kind of guy. Personally, I don't think there's any side out there that's working for that. I'm into politics, but I'm not political.
Yeah. Like you're aware, but you're not tribal.
Yeah, and I'm not, and people can witch hunt me for this. I'm not even registered to vote, and the reason being is just because I just don't agree with any of it.
Dude, favorite guest.
And that's just kind of where I sit. I don't like divisive, and I view denominations of churches the same way as I view political parties. And people that think they're any different are blind. Yeah. Because that's all it is. So yeah, I'm just good as the people kind of guy. I think it's kind of the simplest and best way I can put it.
I love it.
Without making everybody hate me.
No, it's okay. I am registered to vote, and I don't vote, and then my political views are kind of everywhere. And so people think I'm a Republican some days, and some days they think I'm a Democrat. And I'm like, cool.
Even my own family doesn't even know where I stand.
I've had family accuse me of voting a certain way and like going in on me, and then I'm like, I didn't vote that. I didn't vote for either of them.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I feel kind of outcasted about, because like I'll be in these conversations, everybody's like leaning one way.
Are you a contrarian? Like, do you naturally, like, if everybody's going this way, you're kind of like, maybe I'll go this way?
I think I sit somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't try to be that guy that just thinks different because it's cool, and I just want to have a different opinion, want to start an argument.
You want to think differently about thinking differently.
I just want to do whatever makes sense.
Yeah.
To me, whether that's going against or agreeing with people. I think I'm pretty easygoing. I can have a conversation with anybody. I can see any side to a degree. I may not necessarily agree with it fully, but I can see where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. And that is across any category.
Do you feel like that's a blessing or a curse for you? Or both?
I think maybe both. I think it's a curse in people's view of you and not getting it.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't mean this as an insult. I'm not putting myself on like a higher block than anybody else, but I think you also see how narrow-minded that so many people are. And it's sad. I would hate to be that.
We first seen you perform. I guess you were playing in the band already here. The first time we seen you perform outside of that was at the Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
Very different experience. Why'd you get into theater?
Had a very difficult relationship with high school band, especially my junior and senior year, as far as not agreeing how things were run. Feeling like there were people in control that were letting it run itself into the ground. And so it wasn't just only me. A bunch of us just, which is hard. Once you've done something for 7 semesters, there's only 8 semesters of high school. It's just one more. But me and just a bunch of other people had all we could take. Made our opinions known, and we left. Not only because we weren't enjoying it, but also to make a point. I love music. I mean, it is me.
Yeah.
And, to step away from that, it takes a lot to get me to kind of break the habit of something I've been doing for so long. But anyways, that's what led me to drama and theater, was just needing something to do. Yeah. And I actually just wanted to run audio and lights. And then Miss Carla Burns said, no, you're going to audition, because if not, I'm going to fail you. Because you have to audition in this class. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And so I did. And it clicked.
Did you know you could sing before that?
I still don't think I can sing. Personally. I don't think I'm anywhere. I'm a guitar player that's not tone deaf, is what I tell people. That's why I didn't sing at church for so long. And obviously when I've started playing other places, I kind of have to, because if not, it's pay somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay somebody else to sing, so I'll figure it out. But, I mean, she's one of the first people that really boosted my confidence in it. Because obviously, like, parents, they're going to tell you whether you sound good, whether you sound like a dying goat or not. You know, everybody in your family thinks you're, going to American Idol.
Yeah.
But she was really the first person who kind of, whether or not I agree with her, let me know that I was at least somewhat decent at it. And I have a lot to thank for that woman.
Yeah.
Even just that semester felt like I had been doing it my entire life. It's not necessarily that I was good at it, but it was just bringing you out of your comfort zone and kind of forcing you to do some stuff to let yourself grow.
Yeah.
In which it did. I don't consider myself a performer when I play either, but I think it allowed me to be comfortable anywhere, church included. There's something different because any situation, I always have a guitar in front of me, or I have a sax in front of me, and that's what I'm doing, and if I have to sing, it's on top of that. But if the singing's bad, you can focus on this.
Yeah.
And in there's nothing. It was just you. That was a big learning curve. But I fell in love with it. I'm still in love with it now. And I regret not venturing out sooner. But it's just fun.
Did it make you more comfortable with yourself?
I think so, in a way. Because you've got to be.
Yeah. I feel like I could be wrong. Around that time, that's when like a lot of us started noticing you being a little bit different on the stage. Of like you're always great, but you seem more loose. And like that's when I think was when we all started noticing like, oh, like if you just watch Seth on a Sunday morning, like he gets into his like own world.
He doesn't care about y'all.
Yeah, I told Greg this, or Julian.
Whatever he is.
Yeah. Me and him were talking one day, and I was telling him why I appreciated you two on the stage specifically. And it's because y'all will have these moments where you just like, you're in your own world and you look at each other and y'all are like, you can tell that y'all really are like connected to what's going on and to the music. And like, you don't care if anybody's watching. Like, you do this anyways. And so then it translates to us who aren't on the stage. Why do we care about what's going on? Like, who's watching?
It's one of those things that the first time I really started to watch people and then watch back, and this started in drama because we would sometimes have video of ourselves to look back. And when somebody has bad stage presence, myself included, is the worst thing to watch, especially when it's yourself. And that still happens today. I record everywhere we play, and I go back and watch it, and I'm like, what are you doing? And so that's where it started. And that's where a lot of people, especially in church culture, and more specifically the contemporary side of things, if I can't move, I can't play. It's just like they ask me to sit on a stool and play up there. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't. I've got to be moved. If they gave me they've talked about like wireless guitar packs and stuff, and if they gave me a wireless plug-in for my guitar, it's over. There's no telling where I'm going to be by the time, I think music is a feeling. That's how I feel it. I move how I feel. I play how I feel. I've never been one to sit down and learn parts exactly how they were. At the end of the day, I'm just going to do what I want with it anyway. So I'm not going to waste my time. And that's a big thing in church where I've had people telling me, that it's an act.
Yeah.
That I'm doing it to gain attention up there, and that's not the case. I don't think there's a single time where I've thought about moving around. I just do.
Do you think people are, I don't know if it's down here, sometimes I wonder if we're just a very like unmusical bunch in the South at times. But,
I don't think we're a very unmusical bunch, but I think I gotta find the right word. But this spans across things way outside of church. We're a very traditionalist kind of, I don't want to use the word bland because that's not what I'm looking for, but it's just, there's not much soul.
Yeah, like stoic, is that?
Yeah, kind of. And it spans across so many different things. Yeah, most people, I've noticed when I watch most people play, most people don't look like me when they play, which is fine. Not everybody, however you get the music across, it works for you. But I found that a lot of the people I listen to and watch outside of the South, it's the same way. It looks the same kind of thing. I'm not rooted in worship music at all. I grew up hating Christian music because of K-Love.
Amen.
There's this certain group of songs that I consider K-Love classics that I can't stand. Yeah. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. Yeah. Which, if it's doing something good for somebody, it's doing something good for somebody. But that was a big thing, a lot of people grow up playing in church. I did not grow up playing in church. So I stepped from that world into the church world to where I've went to other churches. I've went to guitar clinics at churches, and nothing they're saying makes any sense to me. And if they probably heard me play, it'd probably be insulting to them. Because I had a guy tell me last night, he's like, he was talking about so and so, and he was like, "You're not a worship guitar player, are you?" And I was like, "No, I don't consider myself in that group of people." It's different coming from the outside world and coming into church. And we were playing a pub the other night, and I got one of the most vulgar compliments. It was a compliment about my guitar playing that I've ever received. Now, granted, it's one of the best compliments I've ever got, but I would never repeat it. And the thing I told him, I was like, "Well, I play the same way at church as I do here, so it's that helps ease your mind at night. Play how I feel. It's all I know." Yeah. It's not an act, I sometimes think I look stupid too. I mean, don't worry, I'm with everybody else. No. But you can't help it.
I think that's one of the challenging things about, I don't know the words for it because I'm still trying to figure it out myself. I've always been drawn more towards the head knowledge side, not musical. I'm emotional. I do cry. The Notebook gets me Dude, I cry on terrible movies. But I don't know. I just have always been drawn more towards the theology side and the figuring out the mechanics of Christian doctrine and church, all that. That's just where I've been drawn more towards. But then I've always struggled because I know that other people they're not that way, and it's wrong for me to try to box people in to be you need to worship the way I worship. Yeah. And that's not fair because I don't even know how I worship half the time. I don't even fit in with my own camp, I feel like. But then one of the challenges I feel like that God convicted me on was in my camp, we would see someone who's very expressive, I guess, when they're leading worship, and we'd be like, that's an act. That's fake.
And it's easy to think that too.
But then where it was convicting was, someone could say the same thing about me and how much time I spend reading or whatever, or how much head knowledge I'm trying to gain or whatever. I don't even calling it like that, but the same could be said to me, and challenging, I guess, because it's made me have to check myself and how judgmental I can be. Because we had a worship leader once here. I'm gonna call them a worship leader. I don't know if that was their official title because this is the Bridge and we don't know our titles.
Our titles change every week.
Yeah, but they were very expressive, especially compared to maybe previous people who had led worship, and it was seen as an act. And I would find myself at times being like, okay, you're doing a little much. But I also started finding myself want to guard myself from that because I was like, also, maybe you're just a negative Nancy. Maybe you don't find yourself falling on your knees during the song, but that doesn't, it's wrong of me to assume that that's not authentic to them. And maybe they were faking it. But also, just as much, maybe that is very real for them. Maybe that is truly how they express themselves. And I feel like that's constantly the struggle I find. Is you're talking about how you're not a contrarian really, but you're not someone who just follows blindly along with what everyone else is doing.
I'm open-minded.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes I'm very contrarian, but I want to be more open-minded. When we talked to Wesley last weekend, he's a very open-minded guy. He'll throw you for a loop. And guys like you and Wesley, like y'all are the type of people that I find myself like looking up to the most, because I'm like, I feel like that's the most contrarian thing you can be, is like being the person who's you're not in either camp. You're not the blind follower, but you're also not the person who just goes against everything because it's trendy to go against everything. You're the people who are like, no, we're going to literally just forget both of you guys and go our own way. And that's like the most authentic, real, and probably balanced side of them all. I don't know where I was going with that. I look up to you, Seth.
I'll be praying for you if you're looking up to me. But the thing that's gonna kill the church, the building, the gathering of people in a building, for however much that's worth, will be the closed-mindedness and the judging. That's what's gonna do it. And the more that you kind of venture out, like I went to a worship night a couple of towns over a few months ago, and it wasn't run by any church, so you've got all these floods of different and we all know, like there's no praise breaks being played here at the bridge, like church culture is very different, and there's nothing wrong with any of them. Mm-hmm. They're just different. But to see people at that worship night judging and laughing at somebody else doing something different from them, it's very worrying, and it's very scary. Yeah, that's the root of where it's going to fall apart. Yeah, the building aspect of it, and just the gathering of people, and us being able to gather as to what point are we gathering as Christians, or are we gathering as Baptists, Methodists? Are we gathering as Pentecostals? At what point does that then start to lose the direction of it?
When I went through my season of deconstruction, I was very Reformed Calvinist, very tribal. And I found I remember, because I didn't start off like that when I followed Jesus. When I first started following Jesus, I was like, yo, screw the denominations. And we're just why are we all in separate buildings? Why is it black and white? Why is it Calvinist? I hated it all. But then I found myself getting trapped into it and being like, yo, us Calvinists are better than you other people. And then when I started deconstructing, that was when it was the time where I started looking around and being like, yo, we don't care about Jesus at all. We love our traditions. We love our way of viewing how to read your Bible. And we're in echo chambers of people.
If it's not that way, then it's wrong.
Yeah. Because me 7 years ago, sitting across from you, who attends a Wesley church, a Wesley group, I would have been like, yo, Seth's a heretic. Just being very honest. That's part of why I came back to the bridge, was because I needed to get, even though we're Southern Baptists, we don't act like it at all. And
half of us didn't even know till last week.
Yeah. But that's why I wanted to come back to the bridge, because I was in a very tribal church who everybody agreed on the same things, on everything. And I was like, I can't, this is suffocating me.
And then there's no thinking there.
Yes.
That eliminates thinking.
We think we're thinking, but really we're building our own little tribe, but we're not actually trying to learn how to, maybe it's not the best way to build the tribe. And so come back to the bridge, and that was a thing that I loved the most, was Wayne is from the Church of God. Very different beliefs than us Calvinists. Yeah. John came from the Methodist Church. Robbie's very Baptist. Just the more you got to know people, the more you're like, oh, they're all from different places. Frank, his mom was a female pastor. Again, Baptists don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
But then Frank, the more I spent time with him, the more he broke those barriers down for me. I'm like, yo, his mom loves Jesus. We can, it's okay, I think, to debate and the scriptures and stuff like that. I think that's good. We should be critical thinkers. We should try to love God with all our mind. But we should also remember at the same time, we're all trying to do the same thing, and sometimes we're just on different journeys.
And it's not wrong.
Yeah,
to be.
It's not as black and white.
It's okay to acknowledge things as different, but when you start, viewing your side as higher than the other, that's where there's a problem.
Yeah. I'm going to wrap up because we've kept you very long. But I do want to ask about this because you started releasing your own music. Do you feel any pressure to make it Christian music, or are you like, no, do you view music kind of, it's all music, nothing's like Christian or non-Christian?
Yeah, I hate, and it starts off like there's been times where we can't play this song because it's not a Christian song, it's a radio hit. I don't, and to be honest, Jerry Lee Lewis's Lucky Old Son is one of the prettiest Christian songs I've ever heard. And there's no telling how much liquor he had in him when he sung it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he wrote it that way. How I take it. That's all that matters to me. So when it comes to making my own stuff, I definitely don't want to ever be. I want to be considered a Christian artist, but my music is not Christian music because I don't. My music is just a story on how I view the world. That's all it is. It's not. I mean, obviously, it's anything I make is going to be religious in some way. 'Cause that's how I think.
Yeah, it's who you are.
The audience that I want to listen to it is not the church. It is not praise and worship music. By any means, I think it's just a realistic approach on how I view the world and things. And yeah, that's been a struggle because people thought I was going to start like, you're going to be the next Lincoln Brewster. No. So yeah, it's obviously whatever it'll be, it's Christian based in some degree because that's who I am.
Yeah.
But I listen to all types of things, which very rarely people agree with me on that, but I can find everybody's struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their own view of things, everybody has their own story and tale, and how they get that across, whether they're getting that across in a Christian point of view or not, doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I don't really care if it's a Christian story or not. It's just not how I think. I listen to every genre.
Yeah.
Every genre, every culture, and I find good and talent in all of it. And I will comfortably play that music around whoever I'm around. I mean, if you have a problem with it, I guess don't listen.
I think me and Ryan Adams grew up listening to Lecrae.
I love Lecrae.
Yeah, going to his shows together, like that bonded me and him more than anything, probably. One of the things that I felt like Lecrae helped me and Ryan do early on was to realize that, like, Lecrae, and he talks about it a lot more now, but he got labeled as a Christian rapper, which came up with a whole bunch of connotations and ideas, and he then was like, no, I'm a Christian who happens to be
who happens to rap.
Yeah. And he's like, we would never call a plumber who's Christian a Christian plumber, and he puts a cross on every pipe that he laid. Which is it's a goofy illustration to think that someone's really doing it, but then granted, in the cabinet business there are genuine cabinet makers who do put like verses on their cabinets, which is so corny in my mind, but yeah, do you? But like at our shop, we're my boss is one of the most godly men I've ever met. But we don't brand our cabinets with a cross and John 3:16. We don't call our business a Christian business. The way we feel like, because we view everything as an act of worship, the way we worship God when we build cabinets is by building the best cabinet you can possibly think of. And so we put all our heart and energy and intention into making it excellent.
Your actions speak louder than, and what you're doing speaks louder than, your branding and your Bible verse tattoos and on all your social media accounts. You're reposting the picture of the flower field with John 3:16 on it. Your actions speak louder. And I think Lecrae is a perfect example of a guy who's pushing the limits and are giving the people of the church goosebumps because they can't handle what he's doing. Yeah. And they're not ready to accept what he's doing. And I love people like that.
I mean,
and it's just like what you're saying about the cabinets. Same thing goes to cabinets, goes to the same song I'm making.
Yeah.
I just want to make a good song.
Yeah.
Whether I play it in church or not, doesn't really matter to me.
I feel like that's why for someone who loves learning theology, my favorite theologians are never actual theologians. They are the musicians and the people who are just like Christians in everyday life. I feel like they cracked a code they didn't even know they were cracking.
And it's because they're not trained in this way to think and how to think and what to think.
I think, too, is just the more I've uncovered, like, how the Bible is formed and written, the more, and, like, specifically in the context it was written, the more you find out those guys were a bunch of poets and, like, there's so much in the Bible that's poetry and lyrical, and there's a rhythm to it and this overarching, like, story, and you're like, oh, these are a bunch of, like, creatives. Like, these are people who, like, the Bible is very, like, out of the box for its time.
And see, that would scare people to hear that of the modern church. Well, scare people to hear that they're creatives.
Yeah. Well, like, the thing that blew me away was, I mean, there's a lot of things that blew me away about the Bible, but the more I was learning about it, I was warned. I have this uncle. I don't know where he's at spiritually. He's kind of everywhere. But in our family, who's like all very like traditional Baptist Christians, do not talk to Uncle David. That was like the message. When I did start talking to Uncle David's like, there's like he would talk about how there's all these other religious stories the Bible's pulling from. And he's like, it's not new to the Bible. And that, in his mindset, he's like, that's going to cause you doubt. The more I started learning about all this stuff, the more I'm like the book of Proverbs, like those are just common sayings from the people of that time who weren't always following Jesus or Yahweh or whatever. And even the book of Genesis, like there's that creation story is a retelling of an older creation story, and it's got like this spin on it. And that's what made it so impactful at the time. And the more I like just uncovered that, the more I was like, oh, the Bible is like, it doesn't make it less true. It actually makes it like way more powerful. Realizing just how artistic and like intentional these words were. It's not like someone's just like, I don't know. It just kind of blew me away. And
these people that were writing it, they were living in the world too.
Yeah.
They were not writing it from heaven.
Yeah. Which I think a lot of people are like, yeah, they got transported to heaven for a day.
Yeah,
the Book of Job.
It's divine. It's divine words, but it was being wrote on third rock from the sun.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it.